after I get my straight edge prepared. This is a fat 1/8. Lining up the marks on my ruler to make sure that straight edge is still straight. So now I have 2 straight edges. And since I have a straight edge here, I'm just lining up all 3. And that gets me my 4.5-inch square that I want. And repeat. And now I'm getting the 4.5-inch from my white fabric. I originally cut this 5 inches because I wasn't sure how long I wanted it, so lining up all my straight edges, and it's doubled. I cut off the selvage first. Lining up my marks on my ruler again at 4.5, giving it a cut. So I cut 4 of these. Because I know I'm going to be making more, I don't mind cutting some extra at 4.5. That's just the number that popped into my head. I stopped so I could get myself a straight edge on this one and then turn around and get my 4.5-inch. I'm using a 9.5-inch Missouri Star square ruler because my eyes seem to like that one. There's links in the description box. If I'm using something I didn't put a link for, please let me know and I'll be happy to add it. So I'm getting myself a couple 4.5-inch squares here. That one isn't quite 4.5 folded over. So open it up and get me a 4.5 one this way, and I'll hang on to what's left for a future block. And I didn't have the camera going when I drew those lines, so I drew them again, even though I only needed 2. On this one I'm using a pencil, on the other one I used a friction, however you say that pen, just doing 2 at a time. Now I'm going to sew on both sides of the line I drew for my 2 at a time HSTs, half square triangles. I line up my 1/4-inch foot with the line and take off. Chain piece these, which means I do one, I don't cut the threads, I get the other one lined up with my foot and take off. Then I'm going to turn them around, still not cutting the thread, sorry for my hand. Line the 1/4-inch foot up with that line I drew again, and you guessed it, take off. Then I'm going to remove them, cut my threads, I should have cut the chain before I did this. Then I cut on the line that I drew. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm cutting the chain because I'm kind of slow sometimes. I'm joking. And cutting the one on this one. Set the seam and press. Set the seam and press open. Try not to pull out my fabrics. Sometimes I do. I shouldn't. And then I put them opposite sides together because we're going to make the hourglasses. Draw a line down the middle, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm making sure my seams are nested there. Turn it around without cutting. Come down the other side. And now I'm going to cut those apart. Or am I? I just don't know what I'm doing sometimes. Oh, I had to rip those seams out because I did not draw my line corner to corner right. Trying to do it so I didn't get in the way of the camera. So yeah, even though I got those, I took the seams out and I redid it. I redrew the line. Now you could use seam tape, which I have that too. I just get a more accurate line when I do it this way and use my 1/4 inch foot. Here I'm showing you how you put them together. And I pin the sides before I draw the line. Make sure those seams are nesting. And I'm just making sure that's nested in the middle. And I'm going to cut these down so I'm not concerned about the little bit off. It doesn't look like the fabric's quite lined up. I'm not concerned about that. Chain piecing, flip it around and repeat. Anybody else thinking rinse, wash, and repeat? Just me? Okay, we'll move on. I'm kidding. We will move on, but you know. Oh, this is not going to go well for me, is it? I was adjusting that so it stayed nested because it felt like it was pulling away. When I'm going slow and at an angle, it's not the optimal position to be sewing at. Then I cut corner to corner. Believe it or not, that is a new blade. I just didn't put any pressure on it the first time. And there it is. The hourglass. My center is just a tad bit wrong. It's going to be what it is when I'm doing it on camera. And I am not going to die over it. That one turned out great. Yay! And that one's good too. And after I iron them, I brought them back over to my couch where I sit and do my cutting and most of my ironing. And I'm lining up my diagonal line on my 4.5 inch ruler with the line going down the middle, the diagonal line. And I'm getting a square edge. I know I want these to be squared to 3.5 inches, so I got that edge squared, and then I go for the 3.5 on this side. And I make them a little bit big so I can square them down. There's not a whole lot of waste. If you are very accurate, you could do this and have them bigger. This is just how I do it. And now that one is 3.5. And I'm going to do all of them this way. Diagonal line, diagonal line. I'm thinking I should insert a funny joke here, but I ain't got one. If you got a funny joke, put it in the comments. Oh, I am not good at voiceovers. Hang in there, I'm bound to get better. I've learned all this in a matter of a few months, so there's always room for improvement. That one, I didn't have it on the corner quite right, so it didn't come to a nice point right there with both the fabrics. And I was fixing that. I should stop being funny and watch what I'm doing, huh? I'm teasing. Yes, I left my rotary blade open. I try not to do that. Turns out I'm not perfect. And when I say things, I'm lighthearted, I'm joking, I think everybody is. My husband reminds me not everybody's like me, so they may take things I say too seriously. If you remember when you watch me, she's a nut. I promise it will make this all easier. So, on my last block, squaring it up, yay! Using my diagonal line down the center of my square ruler. I'm sure there's a ton of other ways to do this. This is what I have, this is what I use. And then I'm putting them together. It's just hourglasses. I'm going to do a 4-patch, my 1/4 inch. Now I'm finding my pins. Nesting my seams. I'm putting the pin through. It should be on the seam line, not on the fabric. Makes them line up real nice. I mean, not off to the side on the fabric. And I put my pins in like that, so I know that's the angle I'm going to be pulling my pins out of, and that's where I'm going to be sewing. Try to give myself a little bit of room with the pins when I put them in, so they're sticking out. These are 2-inch flower head pins. I don't think I have a link to them. I bought them for my knitting. And now we're going to do the 1/4 inch seam on both of those. Don't run over your pin. I'm lining up the 1/4 inch on my foot with the edge of the fabric. Trying to hold that seam down so it stays nested. And we're almost done. Yay! You don't have to separate them, but I do. Now I'm pressing one way and one seam the other way so it nests. Just give it a quick finger press. I'm putting the pin in where the intersections meet so I don't lose those tips. Also nesting these seams. Trying to show you how I do it. And then I will run down that. And thank you for joining me on how to make a 4 hourglass block. I am using my quilt builder card deck for inspiration. There is a link below to it. But as usual, just doing my own thing. Now I'm going to give it a press, set it, and press it. And after I do this, I will use my best press, give it a good spray. I didn't show that. And there's my 4 hourglasses. If you've enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, come by and see me again. I'm going to try to do some live if they're easy like I did this morning. Yet apparently I need more work on editing. That's okay, it's only 30 seconds, you'll never get back. Everybody have a good day. Take care, and I'll catch you later.